So how is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. It's been a little while, but since we are yet again beneath the 30-day threshold for Cyberpunk 2077, I figured it was time to get the ball rolling on the Cyberpunk videos. I should be having close to daily Cyberpunk videos. Things are obviously going to go up and down, you know, with Thanksgiving and stuff. But as we get closer and closer to the release of Cyberpunk, I'm going to have more and more videos. I'll be covering news updates and stuff. And then obviously when the game is released, I will have a ton of different videos. But I'm basically going to treat Cyberpunk the same way that I did with other games that I've covered on this channel, like with Battlefront and Avengers and stuff. I'm going to have like just a bunch of discussion videos, news, tips and tricks and stuff. And this is one of the discussion videos that I kind of want to go over. So in this video, I'm going to go over the top 5 things that I think that CD Projekt Red needs to do with Cyberpunk 2077 to make this game a success. Over the past couple years, I've seen games fail time and time again for a number of different reasons, and Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the most hyped games that I've seen in quite a long time. I don't even remember the last time I've seen so many people this hyped for a video game, and with that much hype comes a lot of expectations. So if CD Projekt Red doesn't nail these things on this list, I think that it's really going to hurt the longevity of this game. So with that said, let's get right into the list. Coming in at number 5, I have communication. Now, communication is extremely important for a video game to survive and thrive in 2020. Time and time again, I've seen games come out and the communication just ceases to exist. The Twitters go silent, the developers don't say anything. Normally, if there's like problems at launch and the developers go quiet and they don't address the concerns that the community has, or if they just don't announce the roadmap for DLC, then that is normally a huge red flag. This really pisses off the community, and it spreads through word of mouth. Like if people are just doing nothing but trashing on the game and the developers go silent, then that is one of the fastest ways that a game can die off. If you go back and you look at some of the games that have failed because of this, just go back and look at a game like Anthem, where the communication just slowly ceased to exist. There was problem after problem after problem, and the community was very upset, and then the communication just completely died off, and then so did the game. If you look at something like Star Wars Battlefront 2, a game that I covered on this channel, the communication for about a half a year was absolutely horrible. They basically had no community manager, and then once they finally did get a community manager and they started answering the community's questions, they gave a lot of feedback, the game did a complete 180. I mean, having a good community manager is key to having, you know, a successful game. If you look at Marvel's Avengers, it had a pretty rough launch and a lot of people were upset, and then they went silent on social media. They said that they were going to be more active with the community and have developers answer more questions, and never really did. Still to this day, we have no clue what is going on with the roadmap. When's the DLC? I mean, the DLC got delayed, but we have no clue when any of that stuff is coming with Avengers, and that game's entire subreddit is just nothing but people trashing on the game because the communication is so poor. So they really need to nail this with Cyberpunk 2077. Now, before the most recent delay, they were actually pretty active on Twitter, and then once they delayed the game to December, they just sort of went quiet. They haven't really said much. They haven't been answering community questions, and this has raised a lot of concerns on the subreddit. A lot of people have been speculating, like maybe they don't want to say stuff in case there's another delay. And already right off the bat, I mean, that's not good communication on their part. They already promised people that there wasn't going to be a delay, and then there was a delay, and now they've kind of gone quiet over the past couple weeks. So let's just hope that going forward they actually turn this communication problem around and they're a lot more open and they actually answer a lot of the community's questions. They give us a roadmap for DLC. If there's any bugs or glitches or anything at launch, they address those accordingly. And overall, I just hope that they really nail the communication with the community. I think that will make a big difference for this game. So coming in at number 4, this actually has to do with the game itself, and it's the side quests and the in-game content. Now when it comes to RPGs, one of the biggest things that game companies need to nail is the longevity of the game. Are players going to continuously play this game, or are they going to come back and play it for years and years to come? If you look at an RPG like Skyrim, for example, people still play it every single day to this day, 9 years after the game came out. Skyrim was a huge success success. And that's because of the longevity. It had replayability. There was tons and tons of side quests, in-game stuff to do. After you beat the main story, there's like a ton of side quests you can go back and do. You can replay them and sort of get different outcomes in Skyrim. There's tons of stuff to explore, and as Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be up there with some of those big title, big name RPGs like Skyrim, Fallout, The Witcher 3, there needs to be a lot of things to do outside of the main story. Are these side quests fun? Are they something that you want to replay again? Are they going to have a bunch of different outcomes so that you can play them over and over and over and get different endings? Is the late game content going to be fun and interesting? Or is it going to be like a kind of one and done kind of deal? Like once you beat the story, that's kind of it, like with Fallout New Vegas. Like there wasn't anything to do after you beat Fallout New Vegas, which was kind of a turnoff for me with that game. So I hope for this game's sake, there's a lot to do after you beat the main story. Which leads me into the next point of exploration. Now we obviously know that this map is going to have a lot of verticality. You can go up into skyscrapers and stuff. It has the Badlands. It's going to have a fairly decent sized map, but just how much detail is packed into this map. There's a lot of big open world RPGs that have a lot of size to them, but there just isn't really anything to do. If you look at some of the recent Assassin's Creed games, like Assassin's Creed Origins or Odyssey, they had really big open world environments, but a lot of it felt kind of like fluff. Like you could travel all across this map, and a lot of it just didn't have anything to do in it. Like it was just empty space. So there needs to be a good balance of like a big open world environment, but it needs to be jam-packed with things to do in it, like tons of side quests, a bunch of like open world encounters, random events, random collectibles. There really needs to be a good payoff for wanting to go out and explore. Like maybe some of the better weapons, some of the rare items are found just by exploring the environment. Maybe there's like a hidden weapon or something in a cave somewhere, or some sort of hidden piece of armor or gear hidden at the top of a building that you wouldn't think to go and check out normally. I think that is one of the things that make a successful RPG successful, is that they have a lot of good exploration, and they really nailed that with The Witcher 3, so I expect that they'll probably get that right with Cyberpunk 2077 as well. But I figured I'd include it on this list just because I've seen so many games, you know, sort of fail to nail that exploration aspect. So up next at number 2, I have the loot system. There have been so many AAA games that haven't got the loot system right. The loot in this game has to feel rewarding. Time and time again, I've seen games come out that have poor loot systems. Look at the latest Avengers game again, for example. The loot was poor, it wasn't fun to get, didn't change your appearance, it just didn't feel rewarding to grind to get that loot, and a lot of people didn't like that. That was a turnoff. A lot of looter shooters suffer from this problem, and I've seen other RPGs suffer from this problem as well. They need to find a good balance, because if they give you a lot of high-level gear early on, it's not going to feel as rewarding, but at the same time, if they tie a lot of the really good best gear after like 50 to 60 hours of grinding the game, it's also going to feel like too much of a grind. So I hope that they have like some of the best loot tied behind some side quests. Like I said, some of the best gear could be tied behind some exploration kind of stuff. It could be hidden away. Now this game does have a rarity system when it comes to the loot. Like there's going to be like rares and legendaries and epics kind of stuff, like color-coded blue, purple, gold that you see in most games. But I hope that the gear is actually good, and I hope that there's some way that you can like change the way you look without it affecting your stats too much. I like when games have the layered armor option, because it always sucks when you play a game and you get late game and your character just looks like an idiot because you're trying to put on all the best gear with the best stats, and it just doesn't look good. So I hope that you can look cool, but also have the best stats at the same time. But like I said with the exploration, they kind of nailed that in The Witcher 3. I think they got a lot of the armor right in The Witcher 3 as well. So I'm not too worried with the loot system in CD Projekt Red. I think they know what they're doing. But in 2020, you never know. They could always somehow screw it up, and I think that would be a major turnoff for a lot of people. So coming in at number 1, this kind of ties into the game getting delayed multiple times and this game being so overhyped at this point. I put very limited bugs and glitches. Now, I understand that every single game has bugs and glitches. I get that, and I fully expect this game to have bugs and glitches. And if it's completely broken at launch, I'm going to tear into this game like I have every other game I've covered on this channel. But with this game being delayed multiple times, I expect it to have a little bit more polish, and I think a lot of people in the community are going to feel that way as well. If this game launches in a broken state after being delayed multiple times, then that is a major red flag that going forward, it's probably going to be pretty unstable. It's probably going to be a bumpy ride of them just releasing patch after patch after patch, and it's just never good to launch a game in a broken state. If a game company does that, then right off the bat, to the community, it feels like they're getting ripped off. It feels like the company just is trying to get a cash grab. They're trying to make a quick buck. They release an unfinished product, and then they try to fix it later. It's that live service approach that every single game is doing nowadays. They release a broken, half-finished product at launch, and then they slowly trickle in bug fixes and additional content as they go. So like I said, I fully expect there to be bugs and glitches at launch because there's always bugs and glitches. But I don't expect this game to be completely broken. With this game being delayed multiple times, if this game launches in a state like Marvel's Avengers did, where the game just didn't even work for like a week or two, then this is going to turn off a lot of players at launch. And when you lose a lot of your player base at the very beginning, it's really hard to get that player base back. Going back to Star Wars Battlefront 2, when it had problems at launch, they had an uphill battle for 2 years to get their player base back. They had to have free DLC updates for 2 years. It had to go through word of mouth. Everybody had to recommend it. The game had to go on sale multiple times. And 2 years later, they actually made a comeback. So it is possible, but like I said, I think the community standards have been raised. Every time this game has been delayed, I think people are expecting more and more to come from this game. The hype builds every single time that they delay it, so they definitely have a full plate on their hands. The expectation bar has been raised, and I really hope that they can pull this off because I'm honestly really tired of what we've been getting lately with video games in 2020. They've been jam-packed with microtransactions, they haven't worked, they've been buggy and glitchy, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. But that is my list of the top 5 things that I think they need to really nail for this game to be a success. I think those are really important for RPGs, and if they want to be up there with the best of the best, I think they gotta nail those 5 things. But those are my thoughts for Cyberpunk 2077. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If there's one thing that I didn't mention that you guys think that they need to absolutely nail for this game to be a success, let me know down in the comments. And then if you guys are new here, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications for all things Cyberpunk 2077 going forward. Be sure to hit the bell for notification, that way you guys don't miss out on any new information. Be sure to join the channel's Discord and follow me on Twitch at SwanyPlaysGames Live. And that is going to do it for me, everyone, and I will talk to you all in the next video.